They should have seen it. The power, the lethality, the mobility. And yet, they dismissed it. The tractor of a gun, one said. It's going to take more than that to take on our navy, another said. All completely dismissing the coming of the mobile suit. All except one. Dr. Tam Ray, once a student of Dr. Manovsky himself, now a chief engineer at Anaheim, was the only one in the room of Federation bigwigs to really see what Gihren had achieved. But before we go any further with the main topic, I've got to mention the EF's other mobile suit, the Zanny. The original plan was to start off like the Federation side of things with like the Zanny, but then I started to research it and found that there's barely anything on it. It's kind of hard to do a full video on what little there is, so that idea got canned, and now here we are. I'm gonna give it like a quick little segment, and then we'll continue on with the main topic. The RRF Zanny, the mobile suit the Federation produced in their desperate defense. The suit they put together when they realized they done goofed. After the first few weeks of fighting, naturally, the Federation managed to capture disabled Gihren equipment, the most prized one being the Zaku. Captured suits that were still functioning were usually put straight into service, but some, likely the ones that are too far gone for repairs, were sent to bases like Jaburo and Luna 2 for evaluation. Anyone could see that scavenging for usable enemy equipment isn't exactly sustainable, so plans were made to reverse engineer the Zaku to something they could use and mass produce in the shortest time possible. In their rush to create an equal counter to the Zaku, the Federation created the RRF-06 Zanny, a suit created mostly from parts copied from the Zaku. While admittedly, being able to create something functional in the time they had was impressive. But the suit was rushed, and it showed itself during operations. The suit was completely unreliable, was prone to suffering many failures. It didn't carry much in terms of weapons either. There were the usual Vulcans in the head, and the other one is a modified 120mm cannon on the ball. That could potentially do well against ships, but against fast-moving suits? Well, you better hope that the pilot is a new type. But it was the only thing they had, the only thing they could use to somewhat equalize the battlefield. So they were produced and sent into service. Some were used for trained pilots, while others for testbeds for new technologies. But one thing was certain, even in their current predicament, even when they were pushed back to the last two major strongholds, the Earth Federation still had the capacity to produce something as complex as the mobile suit in a large capacity. Later, when the RX and Gym series rolled out, any remaining Zannys were pulled back from the front. They were given rear-line duties such as transportation, recovery, hospital, and rear security. Many were given to smaller administrative regions of the Earth such as the South Sea Alliance. They themselves continued to develop the Zanny, creating their local SRF-06 Dali model for use in the security forces. Dr. Ray was already working on the RX program, one of at least two mobile suit projects that Anaheim had going at the time, the other being the RTX and the RTC program. However, the Federation military still believed in conventional military equipment at the time and put more resources into the latter programs, which started out as a large tank project. The first model to come from this is the RTX-65 gun tank early type in UC0065. This tank, as it was still designated as one, was envisioned for use as long-range artillery, evident with the two large cannons on the shoulders. It wasn't completely defenseless, with two quad autocannons and a small machine gun in the main hull. Oddly enough, this artillery piece is also used for city operations such as riot control. If I have to guess why, well, I guess a giant tank with arms and two big guns is a pretty intimidating sight for like a dude, I guess. Development continued, and soon in UC0076, if I had to guess, going by the name, AE unveiled the RCX-76 gun cannon first type. Though in all essence it is a mobile suit, officially it was still designated as a main battle tank. Being a direct evolution of the RTX-65, the suit's design still adhered to the Federation's doctrine of superior firepower, using it as an artillery piece and relying on a single low recoil cannon on its shoulder. This early gun cannon was used as a halo machine, using it as a baseline for future models. Even though the Federation was keen on keeping their armored units to have superior long-range firepower, that did not stop Anaheim from conducting their own experiments. From the RCX-76, they created two prototypes to test different configurations of the gun cannon. The first one being the RCX-7601A gun cannon mobility test type. This prototype evaluated the feasibility of the suit for close-range combat and more versatile equipment types. The large cannon was removed and replaced with another Vulcan, and a new machine gun, developed by Yashima Heavy Industries, became the main weapon. The other prototype is the RCX-7601B gun cannon firepower test type, which went to the extreme end of the Federation's doctrine and gave it the same weapons from the gun tank. This one didn't really go anywhere as the suit could not handle the recoil from the cannons. With the tests conducted and data gathered from both prototypes, AE developed and produced the final RCX-7602 gun cannon first type model. The main cannon was reverted back into the original first type model, but the suit now carries extra weapons as, based on the data from the mobility test type, the suit had the capacity to function for more close-range operations, which expanded its versatility. Speaking of which, the shoulder hard ports were made modular, able to switch out the cannon for a missile launcher. About 12 were created by UC0078. All were assigned to the Iron Cavalry Squadron, the Federation's newest pride. During Dr. Ivanovsky's defection, he was pursued by 5 of his own creations. The Federation wanted to make an explosive debut for their newest weapon and deployed all 12 to intercept and destroy the Gihren forces. The Iron Cavalry betted on their large cannons to destroy them, and they may have almost done it. They fired a salvo, completely engulfing the Gihren forces with fire and smoke, only for them to leap out and strike back. The Zakus and Bugu closed the distance in an instant and completely dominated the battlefield. By the end of the fight, not a single gun cannon was standing. This was a huge reality check. Both Anaheim and the Federation could not believe what transpired. They outnumbered them, outgunned them, and yet they were still defeated. Following this, all resources were put towards Ray's RX program, but it was far too late, as not too long after, Gihren attacked. The RX project, or Robot Experimental, was in development in parallel with the RCX project, but seemingly received less attention and support from the Federation before the Battle of Mare Smithy. If I have to guess why, maybe because the entire idea behind the RX-78 wasn't exactly in line with doctrine. Almost immediately after Mare Smithy, both the RTX gun tank and RCX gun cannon were transferred over to Dr. Ray under the RX project. The goal was likely to consolidate all mobile suit design to a single unified vision. Sam Ray redesigned the two machines with a vision of a 3-man team of mobile suits working in tandem, each covering different combat ranges to create a versatile unit. In the months leading up to the war, more Zionic scientists and engineers successfully defected to the Federation. Wanting to leverage their experience in mobile suit construction, these people were immediately sent to Dr. Ray's secret facility at Site 7 to work with the RX project. Among them was one who managed to bring them the data and plans of the Ambak system, allowing the RX team to begin experimenting with their own space-worthy designs. But before we go any further, the actual mobile suits that came from this, I think it's imperative for me to mention that the RX project wasn't just, this place. It wasn't just the gun cannon, gun tank, and Gundam. No, it wasn't just this facility at Site 7. The RX project actually involved multiple defense companies that are aligned with the Federation, or that they were just in it for the money. For example, there's Hervik. They made the core fighter. Then whatever company was behind this thing, which later turned to the ball. Then you have Yashima Heavy Industrial that made the 100mm machine gun. And there's many other unnamed ones that worked on the materials of Federation suits were made from, like the titanium. The first functioning prototype to come from this project is the RX-75. This is a redesign of the earlier RTC gun tank and is functionally the same, with the main difference being the Luna titanium armor. The next prototype is another redesign, the RX-7702 gun cannon. Much like the gun tank, it is functionally the same but further refined with Luna titanium and amber, which was first tested with the RX-77-1A gun cannon A. Unlike the original gun cannon, the RX version carries two main weapons on its shoulder hardpoints instead of one. This configuration was tested before with the previous gun cannon firepower test type, which ended in failure. But now with new technologies, materials, and also the apparent reduction of cannon size, the mobile suit is now able to handle a combined recoil from both cannons. But while these two suits were an immense improvement over the original designs, they were nothing compared to what the RX project was initially built around. The RX-7802 Gundam, Tem Ray's magnum opus. Gundam was highly classified and was only known to a few. The classified nature of it is the reason why records of it are scattered and sometimes even contradictory. According to one account, the Gundam was an evolution of the gun cannon and was developed at Jaburo. They removed the heavy weapons and armor of the gun cannon and replaced them with lighter equivalents. But the most important development of this mobile suit is the ability to carry beam weapons, which were only able to be used by ships. This prototype carried two beam sabers, a weapon that uses superheated Minovsky particles contained within an eye field to form a blade. These two sabers could be combined into a longer beam javelin. Technologies invented from the RX project allowed the miniaturization of battleship beam cannons to weapons small enough to be carried by mobile suits. The XBR M7904G beam rifle is quite possibly the first ever handheld beam rifle to be created. Supposedly, this weapon was to be integrated into an arm, but for one reason or another, this idea was scrapped. Another more recent account is that the Gundam was fully developed at Site 7. The version in this account was built completely from the ground up and not an evolution of the gun cannon. That being said, this version resembles the gun cannon a lot more than the first version. This supposed prototype carried a shoulder cannon much akin to the gun cannon. Parts of this version was apparently later secretly transported to Earth, which were then assembled into at least two more units. These two units were used to test the Gundam's performance when operating under the pull of gravity. It is very possible that the Gundam from the first account was a modified version of one of these Earth Gundams. But regardless of its developmental history, it all led to the one mobile suit that changed everything for the Earth Federation. The RX-78-2 Gundam represented the pinnacle of mobile suit technology in the One-Year War. Its overall performance completely overshadowed anything Zeon could produce up until the final weeks of the war. The RX prototypes were a success, there was no denying that. In the few scattered engagements they were involved in the first half of the war, it almost always ended with complete victory for the Federation. But there was one major glaring problem. The RX series were far too expensive to mass produce, even with the Federation's mass resources and gigantic industrial base. The Federation would initiate Operation Victory and merge the RX project into it. The objective of the operation was to develop mass-producible mobile suits based on the RX prototypes. Many of the technologies found in the prototypes had to be removed and replaced with cheaper and weaker alternatives. But that is not to say that these suits were lesser than Zeon suits. Technologies such as Luna titanium were replaced with titanium alloy, the beam rifle was replaced with a smaller spray gun or conventional machine guns, and internal systems were replaced with more simplified versions. Though it was planned to have all prototypes simplified, the Gundam received priority and was worked on first. By the middle of the year, a limited production rolled off the line, the RX-79G Gundam ground type. This mobile suit was later further simplified into the RGM-79G Gym ground type. These two suits still use expensive parts such as Luna titanium armor, which limited their production, but they serve as important frameworks for mass mobile suit production. Eventually, the first true Earth Federation mass production model was created, the RGM-79 Gym. Though gyms were now rolling off the lines en masse, they were not sent to the front. This was due to the lack of combat data that would help the computer system to supplement a pilot's ability. At the current state the gym was in, no pilot will be able to use the mobile suit to its full potential, leaving it possibly still weaker than Gihren mobile suits. All of the RX prototypes were created with a core block system. Simply put, the main systems of a mobile suit was built into a separable fighter inside the torso, which allowed the pilot and important combat data to escape during emergencies. The computer in the Gundam was specifically important as it is able to learn and self-improve its combat ability, allowing it to automatically react to situations on the battlefield without any input from the pilot. The data from this computer alone would increase the performance of any suit. The Federation decided to wait until they received the data so they could install it into the Gym's computer to bring it to its full potential. It took many months for the Gundam to arrive at Jaburo, but when it did, Gyms immediately started to appear on the battlefield and completely turned the tide. Of course, clearing Earth of Zeon was a priority, but in order to end the war fully, the Federation needed to bring the fight back to space. Pre-war, the Federation Navy put an emphasis on heavy firepower. This meant that most ships in the Federation Navy were not able to carry any forms of fighter aircraft. The best they had at this time was the Columbus-class transport ships. Some of these ships were repurposed to carry sablefish fighters. But as the Columbus was made for transport duties, it was unarmed and completely vulnerable when put into the front lines. After the Battle of Loom, the Federation realized they needed a new class of carrier ships that is designed for combat. What will be known as the Pegasus class was actually already in development before the war, but it was originally meant to carry already existing sablefish fighters. After witnessing the effectiveness of the Zaku at Loom, the project shifted to turn the ship into one capable of carrying mobile suits instead. What resulted is the Pegasus class assault landing ships. Though they were all designated under one name, each ship differs from one another significantly. For example, the Blanc Rival is noticeably larger than a white base. Though these ships were completed by the time of the final assault of Abaku, most gems and balls were actually carried by modified or upgraded versions of the existing Salamis, Columbuses, and Magellan-class ships. As, unsurprisingly, ships take a lot more time to produce than mobile suits. As for the other two RX suits, their simplification took a back burner as the Federation doctrine shifted to favor more versatile weapon systems over purpose-built ones. But artillery will always have a place in the battlefield, and so during the final months, if not weeks of the war, the RX-75 gun tank mass production type and the RX-77D gun cannon mass production type was completed. That, I hope, was a pretty decent job at explaining, early Federation, not just early, I guess the Federation, mobile suit program. This one was a bit hard to mix together though. Like I usually mix up, Origins and Prime UC because most of the time they can kind of click in one another like no problems. But this one was completely different because the RX in Prime UC it started with the gun tank and then the gun cannon and the Gundam, but in Origin, from the looks of it, it was just the Gundam. So that was hard to that was a bit of a conundrum for me to put that together. Maybe that is a sign that I should not be mixing timeline. No. But yeah, if you notice, I didn't really deep dive into like each suit like I usually do. This was meant to be like an introductory into like the whole, I guess the developmental pipeline, I guess, of how the Federation went from 0 to where they are right now. That's this video. Like I will go through each suit like individually. Like that's in the pipeline. I'll be down the line. I'll go through each one. I'll probably go to the Gundam first, and then the other two, and then I go to Gym. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see how it is. But that is this week's introductory video. If I sound weird, that's because I just got done with a stream, a 5-hour stream, and that was very tiring. So my throat is probably not in the best condition right now. But yes, if you enjoyed this briefing and would like to join the Jupiter fleet, and you just feel a surge of patriotism to fight these guys in the field because that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna invade the Earth one day. Because fuck them. We're gonna invade Earth, and we need all the pilots we can get. So if you're a patriotic Jovian, please do consider joining the Jupiter fleet by clicking the sub button down there. But if you're not as patriotic or you're just scared to join the military, which is understandable, you can just click the like button. That helps. That does help. Or you could instead visit the halls of honor, the fallen ones, the hall of the fallen ones. Yes, my Discord channel. That is where we honor the final ones in silence. All 78 of us will stand in silence and honor the fallen ones in the Discord channel by just staying silent. But it's getting better though. Like that a lot more. It's a lot more livelier now, somewhat. But you know, it's still be more livelier than it can be right now. But yeah, other than that, I stream my training sessions. I stream my training sessions basically 5 times a week from Tuesday to Saturday. Yeah. I don't even remember my streaming times. You can join that here or over at Twitch. Over at Twitch, you can play sounds. But other than that, that is that. Glory to the Jupiter colony. Hail. The Jupiter fleet and its pilots, its brave mech pilots, ready to fight the Earth people. Fuck them. Take care, pilots. Keep on fighting the Earth people, but while you fight, do not die.